Goes for a swim in the lake, and then he comes out of the lake and then starts smooching Sophie, and she's like all into it. I'm like, he smells like scummy pond water right now. After a fateful night at a masquerade, Benedict falls in love with a masked woman. While searching for her afterward, he falls in love with a servant who refuses a very generous offer to be his sex slave, even after he threatens to have her hanged. Benedict can't believe a lowly servant would have the self-respect to refuse his aristocratic penis. So against her will, he forces her to be a servant in his family's home, where he torments her with sexual advances, rude comments, and sarcastic remarks. When Benedict realizes that the servant girl he's been abusing is the masked woman he fell in love with at the masquerade, he gets super pissed and almost punches her, but walks away like a true gentleman. And of course, they live happily ever after because nothing says love like emotional abuse and manipulation.
Accurate.
Accurate.
Oh my God. Why am I not surprised? That's exactly what I thought you would say. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, so you can't even enjoy the novels anymore, right? Like you
No.
always have to be on your shoulder. Like.
Yeah, that was too much. Wow. But that is pretty accurate. I feel like it's the same as the other book or two, where there's like a lot of violence.
For some reason, the guys are always violent. I'm not really sure why. So Benedict, so this is basically a Cinderella story, right?
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
Sophie and Benedict fall in love. Like, this is a Bridgerton novel. You know they're going to fall in love, right? So it's obvious. There's basically zero tension because you know they're going to have a happy ending. But it's so weird that like all the guys always have violent tendencies.
Yes, and they're attracted to women who are also like really fiery and violent.
Yeah. Like he mentioned several times, like he wants to like assault her or punch her or something like that.
Strangle her.
Even when at the end, I know we're skipping way to the end now, but even at the end when he realizes that Sophie is the woman at the ball, he gets super angry for some reason. Shouldn't that be a happy moment?
I know,
Like
but
he
I
realized, oh, this is the woman I've been waiting for, and it's the woman that I'm in love with. Yay! But instead, he's like, I will strangle you.
I think it was more for all the grief he kind of went through, and she not purposefully put him through, but kind of like, you know, the night they met, she just disappeared. He had no knowledge of who she was, but he was obviously in love with her. All that time had passed where he was in love with her, had no idea who she even was, and then he meets her, but she keeps quiet. And then keeps like pushing him away when like they were really meant to be together. So at the end when he figures all that out, he's like, all this time you were just driving me crazy for no reason at all. Like what a waste of time, I think is more like his issue.
I guess, but it's more of like you're digging for a treasure and you spent 10 years digging for that treasure, and then you found that treasure and it was a treasure box full of diamonds and emeralds and rubies. And then you get super angry and smash it to bits because it took you 10 years to find it.
Not the same thing.
Why was he so angry? He should have been happy. I don't understand
I mean,
I don't understand where the violence came from.
I
Okay,
know.
sure, be a little irritated
I know.
because of all of that garbage you just said. But where's the violence coming from?
I know.
Especially from a Bridgerton family where their mom seems super lovely. I don't imagine she raises kids to be violent.
No, but I think that because they're so passionate, right? And how they show love to one another, like as siblings, they can be pretty intense with each other, like almost not cruel, but you know what I mean? They're not very nice, but it's how they show their love, and they kind of continuously say that throughout the series. Is like that's just how they show each other that they love each other.
By abusing
You know,
them.
yeah, in different ways, I suppose. I think that's just their passion coming through.
When I tortured you when I was a kid, it was because I loved you.
Oh yeah, whatever.
So throughout this whole story, it's basically like a will they, won't they, right? Like we know they're going to fall in love. So all of the tension is taken out of the story because we know they're going to fall in love. So all of the crap in the middle, I was just not interested in because it's like them fighting, Sophie running away, and then Benedict like badgering her and
being pulled back,
manipulating her into a situation where they then have to be together again.
Yes.
And then they fall apart and come together again. It's like just rinse and repeat. It wasn't interesting, but I can see why a certain type of reader would like this story because it's just so easy to read. Like there's zero consequences to any of their actions.
Right.
And that is basically summed up by the end. Spoiler alert, Sophie goes to jail and her evil stepmother is telling the constable that she stole her shoe clips.
No, and her wedding ring.
She made up her wedding ring. But the whole thing
I know she made that up.
It hangs on stealing her shoe clips.
I know, how dare she?
How dare you steal my shoe clips? And I'm like, oh God, this dramatic ending hangs on stealing stupid shoe clips.
That weren't even real.
Which weren't even real. So it's like a perfect example of like the tension in this novel. Shoe clips.
I know.
Shoe clips is what the dramatic ending hanged on.
I know, but it was just like, I don't know, I felt like this story was a little bit more relatable to common folk, I suppose, than the first two. Because they were all like wealthy-ish people, right? Like they were all in social, what do you call them, classes? Yeah. But for her, she's like a bastard child. You know, she's a servant, but you know, she's a lowly person. So I felt like at least this story, I could connect a little bit more. I'm more of like a normal person like her. And it's like you said, Cinderella story. Yeah. So I enjoyed that, I guess. But it's already been done before. And like you said, it wasn't that interesting. So
I have no complaints with the writing. The writing is super easy. Like I said, it's very easy to take. Yeah. Like, I got through this novel super quick because everything was irrelevant, essentially. Yeah. You said you were able to connect, but it's so weird that the Bridgerton family is so nice and loving and everybody's supposed to be on board with them being the hero, but they, for the life of them, will not marry somebody that's poor.
Well, no.
You must have money for them to marry you, because he was not going to marry her because she was poor. He only married her once, like, he overcame this huge obstacle of his own vanity and then decided to marry her. Luckily, he found out she was a bastard and she had a dowry. He was like, oh, thank God I dodged that bullet.
No, because his mom did say in the book, like, I don't care as long as you marry for love. And she really didn't care. What I think the thing is with that time period, it's more about like social standings. I mean, yes, money, but I don't think so much the money. I think it's like, well, you can't, I think it was him, he can't marry anyone if they don't have any social leverage, right? Yeah. So he could be with her, that's fine, go have kids, be happy and in love, but you cannot be married to that person.
Yeah, and that's what he offers her, essentially. He's like, look, you can be my mistress, you can get a lifetime supply of corsets, tea, and crumpets, and illegitimate children.
I'll take care of you and the kids.
I will take care of you. She's like, no thank you. He's like, you bitch!
How dare you turn me away?
I know.
This is the offer of a lifetime.
Do you understand what I'm giving you? Like, look at me. I am the model of perfection, and I am rich. Did you not hear that part where I was rich? You should be down on your knees thanking me right now, okay? And while you're down there, do something else.
But also, isn't it interesting though? Because I've read the fourth book also. But this brother and the next brother that the book is about, they both have like tons of money, but for like doing nothing. They have no purpose in life. They don't have, like, they don't work. They don't do anything. And they mention that in both books. And like they're having like this midlife crisis situation where they don't know who they are, what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. And I'm like, how do you have so much freaking money and you're not doing nothing? Like, what a problem to have.
Yeah,
like,
what a problem to have.
Yeah, and they complain about it like, oh, I'm so rich, but I'm just so bored.
I'm so filthy rich.
I'm so bored. Maybe that's why they're so passionate with all their love stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
And that's a problem I have with this novel too, is that there's absolutely nothing else going on, right? It's always just two characters falling in love, getting married. The only thing that's ever of interest in these novels is who you're going to marry and what ball you're going to. And then tertiary is what you're going to wear, right? Yeah. That's all that ever matters. For example, in this one, Colin, I think, is his brother that he talks to a couple of times.
One of his younger brothers.
And Colin had went somewhere. Benedict had asked him, hey, what did you do in Greece? He was like, nothing.
Yep.
Just hanged out.
Yep.
And then he came back. Like, the author could have took that moment to give him some kind of a backstory, like something. He was doing business. He went there to murder people, like something interesting. It could have been one or two paragraphs and I'm like, wow, that gives Colin some depth.
Or
other than that, it was nothing.
It could have even been for him to pursue something that he has passion in. Like even anything, it would have been amazing.
They don't have hobbies. They don't have interests. They don't have jobs. They don't take up like no kind of skills or training. I think they do fencing. That's about it. There's nothing else happening. These characters have zero depth and zero interest in anything else.
I mean, they have a little bit. Benedict, he's an artist. Colin, he ends up being like somewhat of a writer. So in the fourth book, I mean, a little bit, but it's like nothing like
shallow.
yeah, it's just nothing that's like, oh, overwhelmingly amazing. I did enjoy the book though. I like books.
Which is so weird because this is not my type of book. Obviously, I don't read romance, especially historical romance. But like I can see why people like it. It's so a easy. Nice story that you don't really have to think about, that you can just read and then
you're
feel
rooting
good
for
about
them.
yourself.
And
and you're rooting for them.
Yeah.
It's great. Like if that's your thing, definitely read it. It's just not my thing, and I'm too analytical, I think, when I read these.
And also, I feel like, I don't know, these books aren't as steamy as people are like making them out to be. Like I'm just kind of like, okay, she saw him naked, and like what's steamy about that?
And then the scenes are kind of like disgusting, and like, so I get it's the 1800s, right? Like they ain't got access to a shower and a toilet, but like for example, one time Benedict like goes for a swim in the lake after being deathly ill, by the way.
Yeah.
But he goes for a swim in the lake, and then he comes out of the lake and then starts smooching Sophie, and she's like all into it. I'm like, he smells like scummy pond water right now. How are you into this guy?
I don't know. Because he has tons of money. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
And this is a great example of this can easily be like a horror story if he was ugly and poor.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? This only works because he's rich and handsome. Like him basically abusing her, forcing her to be his sex slave, like always like taunting her and stuff, and then physically assaulting her. That same lake scene, like they're on the grass,
her,
I think, and then he grabs her
leg,
and she falls and face plants. She has like a mouthful of dirt, and she falls in love with this hero. So it was just so frustrating. I'm like, how do women find him appealing? So, oh wait, I know he's handsome and rich.
Yes, I know. So I agree with everything you said, but the like couple moments that I did absolutely love from the book were more like, because it stems from the whole Cinderella situation. I liked where when they met at the ball, like before they even had locked eyes with each other, they like felt each other's like soul. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, that's what was like, oh my gosh, like my purpose, my meaning for life is here. Yeah. Like it was like this feeling they got. I love that part. I was like, man, that's so beautiful. And I feel like the book was just worth just reading for that. I thought that was really nice.
I know what you're talking about. Like they love each other deeply, passionately, madly.
Yeah, I like that.
And there's a line in there where he says, "I just want to drink you in." Yeah. I'm like, how do you drink somebody in?
I don't know.
Do you have to put them in a blender first?
Oh, this is turning into a horror show.
He's like, I want to blend up your bones and then drink you and
drink the marrow.
Part of my essence. Calm down, Jeffrey Dahmer. All right? But that scene, that masquerade scene, was pretty nice. It was like the highlight.
Beautiful. I felt like their true selves were there that night. Like they're in, like, I don't know, that was just so amazing.
In that scene, you know, she's saying basically we only have this night, right? So we got to make the most of it. And then he tells her, then we must pack a lifetime into this very night, which I thought was very nice. Like he's being super charming in that scene. Yeah, and honest and charming, and he really likes her and he wants, you know, to spend time with her. And he says, if we only have this night, then we got to put a lifetime into this night. And I was like, wow, that is really lovely, sir. And then he goes on to be an utter and complete douchebag.
But isn't that a man? I think that's a dude, though, you know?
Let us know what you think about this book in the comments. Let me know if you think I'm right or Retha's wrong. Thanks for watching.
Preferably in a residential area. Should be played at high volume.